This video is brought to you by PORTRAITMODE.io. Portrait Mode is a platform for street photographers where you can upload your photos, build your portfolio, and showcase your work. The website is free, and among all submissions, the best photos will be featured on the website's homepage. Portrait Mode is a passion project of mine, and you can find out more and sign up for free at the link below in the video description. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and thanks for tuning in. In today's video, I'm going to talk about why I have switched from Sony to Fujifilm for my street photography work. Okay, so right here I have a Fujifilm X-E2 in my hands. I picked that up recently along with the Fujifilm X-E1 to kind of get into the Fujifilm line of cameras and also to get my hands on these older X-Trans sensors that these cameras feature. I just wanted to understand what these cameras are about and if they are really as special as some people say. So as I said, from everything that I heard about these older Fujifilm cameras, I just wanted to see what all the hype is about. And let me tell you, I was pleasantly surprised when I got my hands on these cameras. It is not only about the sensor, it is also like Fujifilm's color science that I really enjoy. If you've been a follower of this channel, you know that I've been mainly shooting on the Sony ZV-E10. While the ZV-E10 is still decent for photography, it is not a dedicated camera just for photography. It is more a hybrid camera that does video and photos. While it does both pretty well, it could definitely do both a lot better. It is missing some dedicated dials and buttons. It doesn't have things like a minimum ISO setting, which I think is super important for specifically street photography, and a bunch of other things. I will actually create a separate video on that, so make sure to be subscribed if you want to see that. Anyway, before we dig deeper, my name is David and I create street photography POVs as well as camera tips and tricks videos here on this channel. If you would like to see more videos like this, make sure to be subscribed. Also consider giving this video a thumbs up and leave a comment down below because that really helps with the YouTube algorithm and gets this video in front of more people. Okay, so I'm looking at my iPad every now and then because I have broken this video down into different sections. The first section that we are looking at is convenience. As I said earlier, the ZV-E10 is a hybrid camera. It is not a dedicated video camera and not a dedicated camera for photography. And that is different actually with the X-E2. It does have dedicated buttons. At least in my opinion, it has enough buttons for almost everything. It has a dedicated shutter speed dial. You have your exposure compensation right here at your fingertips, and as I said, it has more customizable buttons as the Sony ZV-E10, for instance. After setting up the X-E2, I honestly immediately fell in love with it. I had everything I needed right there at my fingertips, and it actually made me wanting to go out and shoot more photos. That was not really the case with the ZV-E10 because I remember, I had to really remember where all the settings are. I couldn't easily switch focus modes. One example would be if I would want to have a minimum shutter speed with the ZV-E10, I would have to shoot in manual mode because that kind of setting does not exist in the camera. But I personally prefer shooting in aperture priority, so yeah, with the X-E2, I could actually set up 3 different auto ISO modes with different minimum shutter speeds and could just switch between them with 2 clicks. Well, as I said, that is only one specific example, but that alone makes shooting so much more enjoyable. Another huge benefit for me is the fact that on the X-E2 I have a viewfinder. Of course, other Sony APS-C cameras like the a6600, a6400 and so on, they have a viewfinder as well, but I feel like I would love to see a new flagship APS-C camera from Sony to really get back into their system. Overall, when it comes to convenience, I personally feel that less is more. What do I mean by that? Well, the X-E2 doesn't have a ton of focus modes. I usually just shoot it in center focus, so I don't typically have to worry about should I now switch my focus mode for that scene or whatnot because I have less options available to me. Of course, this is just personal preference, and I also miss focus quite a lot more compared to the Sony camera, but again, I personally feel that less is more in that specific case. Now let's talk a little bit about photography. With these Fujifilm cameras, I almost exclusively shoot JPEGs unless I need to recover highlights or shadows. And I really enjoy using these different film simulations. My favorite one is currently Astia, and overall I just really enjoy Fuji's color science. What I also really like about these X-Trans sensors is the film-like look. Again, that comes with the grain the camera produces on higher ISOs. I really like that as well. And in my opinion, it just does not take much to fine-tune the photo in Lightroom to get it exactly where you want it to be. If I can compare it to the Sony cameras or Sony's color science, I think the photos the Sony produces, they are a little more clinical, if that makes sense. The JPEGs on the Fujifilm cameras, on the other hand, they have a specific charm. They are a little more opinionated, and I personally really like that. I'm actually still going to use my ZV-E10 for photography when it is a little more serious stuff. Like I can imagine shooting a wedding with this camera where I really need to nail focus. Also, the X-E2 and X-E1, they don't really work great with continuous focusing. Anyways, personally, I feel like on the Fujifilm cameras, I don't have to edit a lot to get the photo where I want it to be. Out of the box, it is just much closer to what I like the photos to look like. If I could sum it up in one sentence, I would say these Fujifilm photos have more character to it. And also the fact that you can play with different film recipes is pretty cool and fun to experiment with every now and then. Alright, so what are the downsides? Well, as I mentioned earlier, slower autofocus. I miss a lot more shots than I should with these cameras. Also, the autofocus is a lot slower, but of course these cameras are also pretty old. I'm sure that has improved on the older X-E cameras or Fujifilm cameras in general. But yeah, overall keep in mind that this is not really a fair comparison. Okay, so what is my conclusion? In my opinion, there's just something special about the Fujifilm system, and I really enjoy shooting with these old cameras. There's just something that makes me want to pick up this camera and go outside and take photos. While I will continue using the ZV-E10 for video work and also more professional photography, I will be using the X-E2 for my street photography work and the X-E1 for my black and white street photography. There's just so much that I like about this camera. With my Sony camera, I've never really used exposure compensation that much, but since I have it right here at my thumb grip, I'm actually making use of it more often than I probably should even. Having these dedicated dials and all these customizable buttons is really great for photography. Also, one thing that I forgot to mention is the battery life. It is much better on the X-E cameras than the Sony ZV-E10. Actually, also the fact that the app works much better than the Sony app, and you can pretty easily move the photos over from the camera to your phone, for instance. But anyways, I will stop here. I will be shooting some more street photography POVs with this camera, so if you want to see that, make sure to be subscribed. Well, and that is pretty much it for this video. If you have any thoughts on this topic, please let me know down below in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I see you in the next video.